everybody. Welcome to today's session. So today we're going to be talking about demystifying taxes, tags, and we're also going to be talking about data import. So just to start off with today's agenda, we're going to be seeing how to use tags and how it can help me and my customers. And for sure, when I say me, I say everybody that's here listening to today's session. So we're going to be seeing how the tags can help us out with our customers and for our own company also. We're going to be talking about the importance of a data import strategy. So once more, a lot of people don't want to go into the data import part, but it is something that's really important, at least to do as a minimum work that we can do is to import certain stuff for our customers. And the last thing we're going to be seeing is how to configure correctly our taxes. So once more, we're going to see how to configure the taxes, to whom we're going to be paying those taxes. So those are the kind of stuff we're going to be seeing in today's session. So before we go too far, a little bit about me here. So my name is Ricky Duquette, as you saw at the beginning of the presentation today. I was born in the United States. I moved here in Canada. I was 8 years old. So I wrote between parentheses here, French. Because basically when I moved here at 8 years old, my main language became the French. So that's why you might see sometimes a little word that doesn't necessarily fit directly in here. That's probably why. So it can come because of that. I also love all motorized water sports and have recently discovered a passion for off-road vehicles. So the side-by-sides. I love also shows. So I love to go see shows, precisely humor and music, more or less. And I also have a company here in Montreal, nearby Quebec. So we're in the province of Quebec. So my company, basically what we do in our company is we implement accounting packages. We also do migrations and trainings for those programs. So, and especially what we do is QuickBooks Online. So we're going to be talking about data import. And that's why I wanted to explain a little bit more about that part, because I do a lot of migrations in my day-to-day. So you're going to see when we're going to get to that migration part, you're going to see where my passion comes from. So how to use tags and how can it help me and my customers? So tags are a nice alternative for classes and location. So probably a lot of you out there are saying, well, listen, I have a database of customers and I'm using classes right now. Why am I using the classes in that case? Why can't I use the tags? So there are different types of potential customers out there that the tags might do the job for what you need. It's for sure the tags are not a replacement for the classes or the locations, but they can help you out. Probably because your customer might have Essential or Easy Start and they don't necessarily need that Plus version, or they just don't want to pay for that Plus version. So the tags can help them out on that case. So you have different potential customers. So the nonprofit organization, the construction companies, the property management, and you're going to see, I'm going to make a demo in QuickBooks Online, and I took a property management as a demo test. So you're going to see how it can perfectly fit those tags with that type of business. And once more, the tags give you the capability for tracking sales and expenses per tags. So what it's going to give you at the end, it's going to give you a profit and loss per tags. So I'm going to be capable of saying for one building, for example, for door 1, door 2, and door 3, how much profit did I make per door and how much profit did I make for the complete building? And these tags are available in all QuickBooks Online subscriptions. So you don't necessarily need that Plus version anymore for a capability of tracking profit and losses per different type. So the tags can help out on that part. So once more, the main question we have to ask is, do we want the tags or do we don't want those tags? So to use or not to use? So that's the first question we have to ask ourselves. Because a lot of people out there are going to be saying, well, the tags, I don't necessarily want them. But did you know that you can deactivate them so you don't see them and you take out information from those screens? Because a lot of times when the people are looking at the screens, the comments that I receive is, there's too much stuff on the screen. It's too complicated to see. I can't see everything because there's too much information on that screen. So once more, the important thing is to configure your QuickBooks Online to be able to have the information that you really need for your customer. So yes, once you go in the gear icon and you go in the accounts and settings, you're going to see that you can activate or deactivate for the sales and the expenses, the tag portion. So if it is something that you really want to use, well, yes, let's activate them. But if you don't necessarily need it, well, why not take it out? So you're going to have less information on those screens. So it's going to be a little bit less distracting for your customers, and they're going to be capable of seeing what they really want to see on those screens. And an example of report that you're going to be receiving, well, like I said, you're going to have a profit and loss per tag. So once more, once you pull out that report, you're going to be able to see per door how much profit you're making. So you're going to be able to see which doors are more profitable compared to the other ones. So let's go see a demonstration in QuickBooks Online, how this part is going to work and how we're going to be able to pull out those reports once we have the information we need. So once we're in QuickBooks, first thing to know is where to activate and deactivate those tags. So if I go in the gear icon, I can go in Accounts and Settings. And from here, if I go in to start off with the sales, well, I'm going to see in my sales that I can activate or deactivate the tags. So if I don't want to see them on my sales transactions, I can just deactivate that portion to be able to not see the tags on the sales transaction. And it's the same thing for the expenses. And as you can see right now, I'm in the Essential company, so I don't have all the necessarily other features that exist in the Plus version. So from here, I can just activate the tags on my bill and expenses. So once more, once everything is activated, when I go in the banking section, I can go in the tags. And from here, you're capable of creating tags and tag groups. So once more, if I go in New, you can see I can create a tag group or a tag. And from here, when you give the name of the tag group, you can accord a color next to it. So once more, it's always easier when you're looking at certain information. And then you can add tag groups. And the important thing with tags is you can have multiple tags on transactions. So once more, if I'm making an invoice, and I like the example that they give here is, for example, in a group, you can create a fitness class. So I can have yoga or rowing, but I can also attach an instructor to that transaction. So I have Danielle or Maria. So when I'm doing a transaction, I'm capable of saying, well, the instructor is Danielle, but the class is for yoga, or it's Danielle and rowing. So once more, once you're going to be pulling out your reports, you're going to be able to say, well, what did I do for Danielle, or what did I do for the yoga class, for example? So let's get back to our example, which we have here. And I created basically two groups where I have building 1, 2, 3 in my building ABC. And for each tag group, I have door 1, door 2, and door 3. And the same thing for my building ABC. I created door A, B, and C. So what it's going to give me as an opportunity is when I'm going to make a transaction. If I go, for example, in New, I'm going to go in Invoice. And I'm going to select my customer from here. So I just select my customer and I'm going to make a direct transaction. So if I select here, Sales, and for example, I'm going to be selling $1,000 and I'm going to be selecting my taxes, which would be HST Ontario. So I just created my transaction. The little technical thing right here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding a tag to this transaction. So from here, I'm capable of saying, is it for door 1, door 2, or door 3 for my building 1, 2, 3, or building ABC, door A, B, or C. So for example, let's select door 2. And as you can see, once you selected a tag in a group, I cannot attach a second tag for that same group, but I can attach another tag from another group. So that for my example for the fitness part. And once I'm finished, I can just click on Save and Close. And what's going to happen is when I'm in the banking section, in the tag section, well, my money in just went up. And I can see per door how much I'm making, and I have the same information on the money out. So once more, quickly, you have the information of what's coming in, what's going out on the tags. And once more, if I just want to do the reports, if I run my report for building 1, 2, 3, door 1, 2, and 3, Well, once more, you have your profit and loss per tag. So as you can see, and probably a lot of people out there are thinking about different types of customers that you have, but for those nonprofit organizations where we were using the classes before, well, the tag could be a really good option on that part. Once more, it's something that we often have, not necessarily the bad issue to do or the wrong thing to do, but often we want to get really complex, and the reporting that we want to pull out from the system, keep it simple. When you get too complex, you forget the obvious. I love this statement here. So just keep it as simple as possible. And once more, always keep in mind the customer. The customer wants to have certain information. So don't go too far in that process with giving them too much information. Sometimes it's going to get them lost in the information that they're going to be getting on that part. Second part, the importance of data import strategy. Once more, and this is more like my little baby part here because this is what I do often in my day-to-day. So I do a lot of data import, and a lot of people don't want to get into the data import, and I understand that part, and it's sometimes complicated to deal with. But there's at least a little bit of data import that certain people can do, and it's going to simplify the customer's experience. They're going to have less data to enter in the database. So if we're, for example, importing a chart of account, we're importing a customer list, a supplier list. Well, it's all stuff that we can be importing into the system, and it's going to be less information for them to be entering in. So once more, it simplifies their experience. And what's the most important for us, it ensures the integrity of the initial data that we're entering in the system. So once more, if we're not asking the customer to do certain stuff, we're doing it for them, well, we're making sure at the same time that the data that's going to be in the system is going to be the accurate data that we really want there. So once more, if we do a little bit of data import for our customers, it's going to help them out, but it's going to also help us out. And when we're importing, only import the necessary data. Once more, a lot of people try to go too far in, a little bit like the sentence that we had a little bit earlier, that we don't want to get too complex, keep it simple, keep it to the obvious. Well, once more, it's the same thing for the data import strategy also. So it's easy for us to do this stuff for the customers, and it's time saving for those customers. So it's a win-win situation at that part. So once more, we don't necessarily want to go too far in the importation of data. For sure, I don't want you guys to do all that because I'm not going to have any job anymore. So I want to keep that work for me. More seriously, there is different type of importation that we can do, or data import that we can do, if I can say. And I put it in 3 columns here. We have the lists. Theoretically, the list is something that's really simple, and I'm going to show you guys how to import information in QuickBooks. You're going to see how simple it is, and we don't necessarily need tools or third parties connected to QuickBooks to be able to do this. It's something that we can do directly with the tools that are integrated with QuickBooks Online. So you can import chart of accounts, customers, suppliers, products, and services. So these are all lists that, at least when this information is going to be in there, we're making sure that the data of the lists are correct, but also it's going to be easier for the customers. The customers are already going to have and I call this an empty shell, but it's not necessarily empty anymore because there's data in there. But at least they're ready to start entering information directly in the system without necessarily starting to input data in. They're already ready to go. The second step, I would say it's a little bit more complex, but once more, it's not that more complex. You can import transactions. So we can import invoices, bills, journal entries. And the journal entries is a major part where we can import trial balances with opening balances. So once more, it's an easy step, and we already have data in there. So once more, we have the opportunity to be able to help the customer out, but at the same time, we're ensuring what's going to be in there is going to be the correct data that we want. And once more, if you don't want to connect the bank accounts with QuickBooks Online, well, you can import bank data directly with the tools that are provided with QuickBooks Online. And the outside data. So some people are going to even go one step further. They're going to say, well, for example, I have QuickBooks Desktop. Can I migrate QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online? Well, the answer is yes. There are tools that exist to be able to do that. Same thing with Sage 50. Xero. Here in Quebec, there's a program called Akamba that we can migrate also. And I have a phrase that I like to say, and it's funny. I had a customer calling me this week, and I just told him that phrase is, if you can export it from your system, your current system, we can import it into QuickBooks Online. The tools are there to be able to do it. So once more, it's not necessarily something that everybody wants to jump in and start doing importation of data or migrating other systems into QuickBooks Online. But if we keep it simple and we go at a list format of importation, well, yes, that is something that pretty much everybody can do. So the third option we have is migrating outside data. So yes, QuickBooks Online has the opportunity to be able to migrate from other financial systems, and we can import those informations directly into QuickBooks Online. So depending on the system, we can export from 1 to 2 years. And if it's QuickBooks Desktop, we can even go as far as the system has begun. So if you have 10 years of data in QuickBooks Desktop, well, we can import the 10 years into QuickBooks Online. So now let's just go see in QuickBooks Online how to import data into the system. So we're going to see the different options that we have, and we're going to also see different information that we're going to be capable of doing with the importation tools that we have. So the first thing I want to show you is the Excel sheet that we have. So this is an example of a chart of account that we're going to be importing into QuickBooks Online. So once more, it's a simple chart of account. I only have 5 accounts here. You understand that if I have 5 or 200, it's pretty much the same information. The only difference is the quantity that we're going to be having extra in the 200 chart of account, for example. So as you can see, it's really simple. I have 1 line per account and 1 column per information. So I have my numbers, I have my description, I have my type, and my detail type. And I did it on purpose on the 5th line where you see the auto. I don't have any type or detail type. And you're going to see why I did that in that particular case. So I'm just going to flip over now to QuickBooks Online. So once we get in QuickBooks Online, I'm going to simply go in the gear icon and I'm going to go into import data. Once more, if we go to that information where I was talking about earlier about the importation of outside data, well, this is where I would go to migrate from another financial system into QuickBooks Online. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the import data, and you're going to see from here, this is all the information I can import into QuickBooks Online. So I can import bank data, customers, suppliers, chart of accounts, products and services, invoices, journal entries, and bills. So what we want to do right now is we want to import chart of accounts. So if I go in chart of account, and you're going to see it once more, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. So 1 is upload the file. So we're going to go get that file that I just showed you, the Excel file, and we're going to select the Excel file that we imported into the system. I'm going to say next. And you're going to see once you're importing the information into QuickBooks Online, if there are errors, QuickBooks is going to tell me that there's an error. So once more, it's really easy to be able to import information, and we don't need to be specialists to be able to do it. Pretty much what we need to know is how to work with Excel to be able to put the information we need in Excel, and after that we can import the information. So now we're at step 2, we're mapping the data. So what I'm doing is I'm saying each column that I have in the Excel sheet to what information it corresponds into QuickBooks Online. So the only information I'm missing here is the account name. So in my Excel sheet, it's called description. So I'm just going to link it with the right column, and then I'm going to say next. And once more, when you get at the import file, it's just telling me this is what I'm going to be importing in. And when you see a red square or a red rectangular here, that means there's an error. So the only thing I need to do here is to say what is the type of account. So it's an expense account. And once more, what is the detail type? It's an auto. And I'm just going to say import. And you're going to see the work that QuickBooks is going to be doing. It just imported the 5 accounts in my system. I didn't even have the time to finish my phrase and it was already done. So imagine if you have 200 accounts, well, it might take the system 15, 20 seconds to be able to do it, but it's really quicker than retyping all that information directly in. So now if I go in my chart of account, you're going to see I already had accounts there, but my accounts with the numbers are the accounts that I just imported in the system. So once more, everything is automatically updated into my QuickBooks Online. Last point to the agenda for today, how to configure correctly our taxes. Once more, the taxes is an issue that a lot of people have difficulties understanding how to configure the tax. The most important question that we need to ask ourselves is, who are we declaring those taxes to? So for example, if I'm a company in Ontario and I'm going to be dealing with other provinces in Quebec, other provinces, for example, like in Quebec, in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, anywhere in Canada, I have to verify to whom am I paying those taxes. So am I doing one declaration of taxes to one government, or am I doing to each provinces? So that's the major issue we need to know and we need to find out to be able to configure the taxes correctly. So let's go see in QuickBooks how to configure those taxes and especially how to create those taxes. So in this company here, my taxes are already created. So what I did is I created a company with taxes for HST for Ontario. So I'm at 13% for the Ontario taxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and manage sales taxes. And from here, I'm going to be capable of creating either a new tax or creating a new agency to whom I'm going to be paying that tax to. So for example, if I would be dealing with somebody, with customers in Alberta, but the Alberta taxes, I'm going to declare them on my HST revenue for Ontario. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a custom rate. So from here, I'm going to create the tax name. So for example, Alberta. And then I'm going to say, do I collect these taxes on sale or do I pay these taxes on sale? So if I do, I'm just going to say, for example, 5% here. And how do I show the tax amount on my return line? So I'm going to say it's a GST, HST collected or collectible. And after that, if I also pay on purchases, what is the amount I'm paying for? And where do I want it to appear on my sales tax declaration? So I want it input tax credit, so my ITC. Once I'm completed, I'm just going to add this tax. And you're going to see now I have an Alberta tax, which is on my Canada Revenue Agency remittance. So I'm not creating a second declaration. I'm putting it on the same tax agency that I'm declaring to Canada Revenue Agency. For example, another one. I'm going to be selling in British Columbia. So what I'm going to do is instead of creating a custom rate, I'm going to be creating a tax. The reason why is I want to start tracking taxes for a new province. And I'm going to be declaring those taxes to that province also. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say add. And from here, I'm going to select which province I'm declaring to. So I'm going to say British Columbia. It's going to ask me when does the next period start. So for example, we're going to say, let's start it in June. My filing frequency is going to be, for example, quarterly. And my reporting method is going to be accrual. And I'm just going to say add. What just happened here is QuickBooks is going to be creating a second declaration. So I have my first one for Canada Revenue Agency. And on my British Columbia Ministry of Finance, you're going to see if I go back and manage sales taxes, I will be declaring only the 12%, the 7% for the BC Ministry of Finance. The 5%, which is the GST, will still be remitted on the Canada Agency. I'm only remitting the part that is the provincial part to British Columbia. So that's the most important thing that we need to understand is to whom am I paying those taxes? Am I declaring it on my declaration or am I doing one for a second or a third or a fourth province? And I'm going to be adding that information on there. So for the key takeaways for today, I hope that this session brought something to you guys. I hope that It's going to help you work with QuickBooks Online. So once more, the tags are a nice alternative to be able to classify transactions. The most important thing here is we don't necessarily need the Plus version anymore for that. With the tags, we are capable of dealing with different information, either with the Easy Start or the Essentials, and without necessarily the Plus. But once more, we might be needing the Plus for the classes, the locations, and also the tags. Importing data for a customer takes us a little bit more time, but saves them a lot of time. That's probably the most important thing in the data importation is we're saving time for the customer, but we're also saving time for us. And the last point, creating our taxes correctly will save us time and hassle. And I think the hassle is a major part here because once it's configured correctly, well, we're not going to have that much problems anymore because everything's going to go flawlessly in the system. So once more, everybody, thank you very much for assisting this presentation today. I hope that everything that I showed to you guys today will help you out in the future. And once more, if you need to reach out to me, you can reach out on the social medias, either Facebook, LinkedIn. You have my website also for my company. So don't hesitate. If you just want to chat or you just need a little bit more help in there, feel free to contact me. So once more, we're going to go to the question, the question panel now, and we're going to start answering the questions. So thank you very much.